So we literally just now got the biggest Frontiers drop in a long time. And it came in the middle of the night out of nowhere from Japan. Yes, IGN Japan dropped a new gameplay demo from the second island, Eris. It shows a new mini-boss, the Sumo, as well as a couple new enemies, and finally gives us some good footage of the supposed City Escape highway level, which I'm excited to go through and cover. These are full quality, 1080p, 60 frames, and finally with audio. However, there's no music in the original clip as it's made to be spliced up and used with other people's coverage, so it isn't either muted entirely or has two songs clashing over each other. It's fairly safe to assume that Sega PR are the ones who sent this out to everyone, since I've seen a bunch of people covering Sonic Paradise's re-upload, but theirs is a bit more compressed than the IGN one and has a watermark at the top. I'll do a reaction and break it down and analyze it after, as well as go through the new screenshots and other stuff the PR dropped. I've seen a lot of pictures from this gameplay on Twitter, but I haven't watched any clips yet because I wanted to save it just for this. And trust me, it's taken ultimate willpower to not watch anything just to have it fresh here. So without further ado, do the like, do the sub, and double check because sometimes you get unsubbed and without even knowing it. And that's no good. Now, let's play the intro, then just go straight into this new gameplay, as you can probably tell from my voice, but I'm pretty excited. All right, so let's do the reaction, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Roll it! Alright, starting in the island. Already, the level looks pretty cool. A little empty, but I don't think it's too bad. I've heard a lot of people saying this stage looks really empty. I don't know. I think a lot of the enemies just pop in as you load in. Is that a fusion coil? What is that? Alright, this is the Sumo boss. I get to see what these walls are now, these laser walls. I don't know what the purple signifies still, though. Oh, maybe he can't bounce off the purple ones? Oh, is that what they were talking about with Sonic movie? Oh, okay, the purple ones shock him. I get it.
Oh, I understand. Oh, I get it.
It's pretty cool, but I feel like the attack animations are a little long. It looks really pretty, but I don't know how it would play. The boss design is cool, though. I like the things it's thrown. All right, next. Oh, Coco. I love the Coco. All right, missed the spring, but that was probably intentional, maybe. Look at those spikes in the background, too. What are those? Honestly, I know a lot of people don't like these geometric guys, but TBH, I like them way more than, like, egg pawns. I don't know. The attack combos look fun. I know a lot of people were mad about the Psy-Loop, but I think that, in addition to other abilities, is going to be really cool. And they drop collectibles too, so I wonder if they do that every time. Like, can you guys grind these guys out, or is it a one-time thing? Yes, more Coco. You know what? At least he stood there for a second. I love how the lighting in this area looks. It's really, like, kind of overcast. Okay. Yes! Okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Oh, look at the atmosphere. I'm not familiar enough with the gen stages to say if this is City Escape or not. To be honest, it doesn't feel like it. I think a lot of people might just be saying that because of the highway, but they could be totally right. Look at that thing in the background. That's so cool. It's like gyroscoping. This new enemy looks cool too. A little grindy, but cool. And that was it. So it all starts with gameplay from Eris, the second island. One of the most significant parts, and what I'm going to start with first, is the Sumo mini-boss, which actually looks really fun and well designed. And my favorite part of it is one that not many noticed, and I've been super curious how we could possibly see this in-game. So Morio Kishimoto, in an interview a while back, mentioned something that we finally get our first glimpse of here. So quote, "The first Sonic the Hedgehog movie really caught me by surprise. We've been focusing on how Sonic is supposed to run, jump, and fight within our games. But the movie showed us an entirely new approach. They came up with a great interpretation of Sonic, which became a huge inspiration for Sonic Frontiers development." And even later confirms he's talking about the combat with, "The direction we took for combat was inspired by the movie. After watching it, I came up with a vision for the game's combat." And in the same interview, he said he has not seen the second Sonic movie at that point, so we know he's talking about the first. And Sonic uses the attack on the Sumo boss that he uses on Robotnik's ship at the end of the first movie. Also, I like how you can see the angles and where it's about to go. So it has a level of strategy and coordination to it, which is much better than some easy auto hit attack that never misses when you simply do the combo right.
Target locked.
We haven't even seen a majority of Frontiers' new interesting gameplay mechanics, and I think that's going to be Sonic Team's biggest secret here. We still haven't gotten to see almost any of the other abilities than Psyloop, which journalists who have had access to more than the playable demo have said there's some really cool ones that they don't want to spoil and come down the line. Some of them supposedly really rethink the different ways Sonic can attack, which is something I'm eager for, and hopefully we can get a bit of info on that soon. Since this demo and footage does originate from Sonic Team, just like the others, and was only distributed to these outlets, it explains why the clip starts at the beginning of the gameplay, whether it's scripted or played by a person live. And likely it's the first, as scripting is super common for these gameplay demos. So if you look here, the clip actually starts with Sonic spawning in on the platform, and it's so quick, I guarantee you missed it. Because even though Sonic is motionless and not looking around, the Coco load and pop in right in front of him, despite him not moving to have them load in. So it makes it clear they have a set point on the dev side, so they can start Sonic right there for the sake of this gameplay demo. Next thing we see, and kinda blows my mind a little, is we actually see a Knuckles collectible for the first time.
Meet Knuckles.
So maybe there's even more of Sonic's friends trapped on these different islands. A lot of people are going crazy on Twitter saying, "They confirmed Shadow's not in it. I'm not buying this. Shadow's not in it." But we've already known this is a Sonic-focused game, and it would play the same with Shadow anyways, so different aesthetics is an area that will get picked up by the modding community. While I do think it would be cool, there isn't a precedent or something they've done like this before, so I don't know why people are getting angry about it. Granted, I have found many more people talking about other people being mad than actually seeing other people being mad. So it doesn't seem like a huge deal to me or really everyone to not have Shadow. We will likely see other characters, as there's only been confirmed Amy, Tails, and Knuckles so far. And there's 5 islands, so there's potentially 2 spots left. And that might be where we see some fan favorite characters, or maybe someone entirely new. And we already saw Big free and walking around, so we know he's not one of them. Because just like Sonic, Big's just too much of a Chad to get captured. We already know Knuckles has some involvement from the prologue trailer, so it's not a huge stretch of the imagination that he's in the game itself and not just the cutscene. But again, since he wasn't with Amy and Tails when they crashed, it's unknown who else is going to appear on these 5 islands. And Push Square also confirmed you save Knuckles, but it turns out, after looking pretty hard everywhere, nobody else has discovered the Knuckles medal, which is somewhat fair since there's not a lot of people doing frame-by-frame analysis like me. But I'm gonna Christopher Columbus this hoe and say this is now an official Sonic Show exclusive. Stamp it on there. Even if I don't get my video out first, which at this rate I know I'm not, since I'm already a day late. And I like to write out my scripts thoroughly and make sure my editing and research is super sound. So yeah, it takes a couple days longer, but way better videos. However, for this one, I'm actually on the ball, on the rat race, on time. Look, Mom, I'm just like one of those dirty, disgusting journalists you despise. I'm also hearing people talking about it now being confirmed to have Momtemum, which is because they made it ultra obvious for Sonic's younger autistic fan base. And as an autistic adult, this is something I've been saying for months now. Where have you guys been? We saw on-rail Momentum gameplay forever ago, but for some reason the fan base was in denial and calling me crazy. And even in the hills, I said he gets a little bit faster and people were like, no way. And now they made it super obvious and people were like, oh my god, who could have seen this coming? Me! But that's besides the point. It's not Sonic Utopia levels of momentum, but there is some momentum in this. You won't notice it everywhere and probably very rarely, as the world is mostly flat. And when it's not, you're going to be mashing boost anyways. What's perfect about it here is you don't ever stop and stay put on the rails like in Unleashed. You go faster or slower based on momentum, hence why he's moving so slow here. This way it keeps the gameplay moving at a minimum speed, something important to Sonic feeling right, and why the open areas in Unleashed are barely even considered game areas or levels, since there's nothing to do in them, and you aren't getting enough speed through the level structure to use these elements smoothly. In the background, we see these giant spikes that look like they're straight from the 90s and 2000s kid game, Jax, where you like drop the ball on those. I guarantee you nobody remembered that. I unlocked a memory. And I think this might come into play with this island's Titan boss fight. Maybe trying to get him to step on them or something. It would also explain why they're super spiky and seemingly randomly placed or everywhere. It's honestly not the prettiest set dressing if that's really all these are, but they definitely look like they'll serve a purpose at some point. A next interesting bit, and it's not something crazy, but it's something I like, is we see a shot that opens with a bunch of Coco and we see him jumping around up close. Wow. These are the new mascots of the modern era in the Chow's newest competition. After trying a gorillion times, Sonic Team is finally able to write off the Wisps as a failure. One thing I notice is if you pause while Sonic does a loop on this rail, you'll see this weird gyroscope structure, but we see it much closer in this frame so you can see all the details. There's no inside structure, and it looks like it doesn't have any apparent game elements to it, other than likely housing some collectibles. And we see this structure much longer and more prominently later in the trailer. However, it's far away and you can't see the base of it to know what's going on down there, which is nothing, or at least as we know now. Probably something. I've also seen some people talking about this glowing green tube, but I genuinely think this is actually set dressing and it's just similar to a different kind of crate. And I think that because when he breaks it, nothing changes in the environment other than some rings pop out. Ba-ding! So it seems like its only purpose is to hold a few rings for you. We see the highway stage, also being called the City Escape level, which, while I've seen tons of people say, oh, that's definitely it, I haven't seen a comparison video yet. And I also partially think a lot of these comparisons are just coming because it's a road and people are looking at other road levels. And why do I think that? Well, the only comparisons I'm seeing from most of the, and no offense, but like younger crowd is saying City Escape and Speed Highway. And it's like, you guys are just saying that because it's a road, isn't it? You guys aren't looking at the geometry of the level. And they're just like, road level must be road level. And I'm not even trying to be negative or whatever, as I'm actually pretty hyped, and I'll get into it in a second, but I actually have an update to make to my feelings on the Cyberspace levels, as I'm feeling a bit more positive right now, as doing a bit more research has made me find something that does make me a bit excited. But with the highway level in particular, the layouts from the original one it takes from in the final layout can be totally different. Like, they made Windmill Isle from Unleashed Green Hills. If it's original, I'll totally give it its credit, but I'll also go into why I definitely do not think it's original. Our leading info is that the 2.5D stage is Tropical Resort, but nothing's been confirmed, and we've had so much news so quickly that I haven't had time to make a full comparison video and comb through literally every 2.5D stage ever, although Colors is the prime suspect here. But before that, I want to talk a bit about my change in mindset. So recently, I've been critical on Frontiers for the first time, and because of the Cyberspace stages being reused. However, even in the video I made on it, I did warm up to it by the end, because if there is a minimum of 35 levels, and hypothetically, even if all of them are reused, that's still more stages in one Sonic game than any before, and supposedly with the best physics and controls yet. So finally, these poor little console players who aren't able to get mods will finally be able to play these older stages in what might be the best way possible. And I think that's an alright trade-off for the quantity of levels here if Sonic Team pulls through and this is like a really good package. Now, I want to talk about the levels being optional, as the more and more I read into it, I just don't think this is true. People are constantly reiterating and repeating,
No, Jaded, it has been confirmed that all of the cyberspace stages are optional.
However, this has already been confirmed to not be true. And maybe this one thing you're saying that says that is either a misspeak, mistranslation, or misreport, as it's already been said by Iizuka and Kishimoto that you have to complete 7 to get the Chaos Emeralds, or at least the Vault Keys, to defeat the Titan and progress. You do have to complete 7, however, you don't have to play any particular one. You get to choose which 7 you want to play. Reportedly, there's more than 7 on each island, which will be crazy. So you get to pick which 7 you want to play, and that's the optional part. But you do need to get the Chaos Emeralds to go supersonic and beat the Titan to progress. That part is certain. And with this, I've also heard some people reporting that enemies will occasionally just randomly drop Vault Keys. As someone who supposedly played the demo said that, but going through all the footage of everyone who did play it, I can't find any footage of this happening. And even on the Wikia, sourcing the official info Sega put out, it says you get Vault Keys from beating Cyberspace stages. Now again, I'm totally open to being wrong, as I'm not trying to be fake negative or whatever. Also, quickly about that, I've been hearing anytime I say something that's remotely negative or has any drama attached to it, that I'm doing it for views and clout. Which is odd, since it always performs terribly and makes everyone hate me, even losing good chunks of followers. If I just made a video saying what everyone wanted me to say and didn't speak my own mind at all, I would get way more views and clout. It's a very odd argument, as it's quite literally the opposite of gaining clout. I literally lose clout by giving my most genuine and honest thoughts. It's so odd. But yeah, quickly to wrap up the Vault Keys, I'm open to being wrong, but unless it's like a huge boss like an Asura, there's not going to be random enemy drops like I'm hearing people say. Why would they give you the thing you get from completing a cyberspace stage just randomly? That doesn't make sense, and there's no footage of it. And I've been consistently downloading footage since Gamescom came out, and oh boy, I've watched a lot of footage. My hard drive is filling up. Now, I want to talk on the topic of original levels. Now again, this isn't 100%, as they actually haven't said there will or won't be original levels. I've heard some saying the opposite, and this is apparently where they confirm there's going to be different levels. Iizuka said in an interview, "We kind of want to reuse those memories, like the memories we have as well, because we played the games with Sonic. But the team is doing it intentionally. Kind of poke at these little points that players are going to pick up on immediately, like, I remember this exactly. And we are making levels that maybe look different, but feel the same as other things you've experienced. There's going to be a mix of those very intentionally nostalgic or familiar areas." And this is the part people are clipping out, but there will also be some brand new things nobody's ever seen before. And people are like, oh my god, that confirms original levels. But guys, he's talking about the aesthetics and changing the levels. That's what he's talking about. The new stuff you've never seen before is the visual aspect, as well as how Frontier's controls are tighter and better than before. And again, I haven't played the demo, so that's not my opinion, but unanimously everyone is reporting Frontiers feels better than any other Sonic game in like the past decade. Also, I'm not trying to be negative because I'm not even disappointed in these levels anymore. But spreading untrue things and building up false hype is what leads to the Sonic cycle, and why we eventually came around on most titles. Sonic in 06 and Unleashed are the most prominent examples. People get these false expectations and build up a game that isn't real in their head, making these initial releases failures among critics. And then, many years later, newer fans who weren't around for the game's release play it with realistic expectations and end up loving it. I personally think it is good to correct info out there, as reporting on Sonic news is one of the top goals. And I really just want to look at this objectively. I just don't think Sonic Team has the endurance to make a polished game that includes the 5 open zones, as well as over 35 original levels, or even 10 for that matter. Which, while it wouldn't be the most crazy or impossible thing ever, we have never seen Sonic Team live up to this standard of content quality. Going back to the highway level a second, a lot of people are saying, if you don't recognize the level, then it's new. Which, no. And people haven't recognized it because nobody's made a comparison video yet. The other ones were easy because 1, Gamescom was about a week ago, and 2, those were early iconic stages that like everyone knows the layout of. At this point, if you don't at least kinda know Windmill Isle's layout, then sorry bucko, you're not a real Sonic fan. Remember, Air's gameplay just dropped. Gamescom was from the 24th and had way more footage, as we still got less than a whole minute of this section. I brought this up on Twitter, and I think I made a good comparison to how people are treating this. In a response to someone literally saying, if you don't recognize it, then it's new, I wrote, I can't stand this mindset. Just because you guys don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of every Sonic stage layout does not mean this is new. And the other 5 stages are confirmed to not be the case as well. If I go outside and see a bug I haven't seen before, is it a new species? Give it some time, and this incessant coping that it's definitely new will likely age like milk, just like every take without evidence. Yeah, you know what will never age like milk? Having an open mind to different possibilities. I'm not 100% on either way, as again, there's no evidence to confidently back either statement. And when there's so little info, this is the correct spot to be in. If you're one of the people hating on it so hard, then it shows your true colors as just a hater. But if you're giving the game credit for things it doesn't do, and are incessantly coping over other people's disappointment with pop-ins, and just other minor issues, then you're just a fanboy who's fallen into the grasp of toxic positivity. AKA, I personally like to call these guys the copers. Not Cooper, but Coper. Like, even looking at Frontiers, this is more stages than in any Sonic game ever before. Even if they're all reused, this is still super cool. I don't know why you guys have to try to make it look better by either lying intentionally or accidentally, and just making bad points. Guys, you don't work for Sega unless you're like some botnet employed by them. But I doubt they would do that. That would be crazy. But again, with how crazy the responses I'm seeing, I mean, I don't know what would be more crazy. If you guys are actually like this, then Evan was right. The school system failed you guys. More so, your parents failed you. Look at me. Smash subscribe. I'm your new dad. If you're a hater or a coper, you had a bad dad. I'm doing you a favor. Like, sub, bell on, that's it. Also, double check on that sub, because even if you're like, oh yeah, I'm subbed, a lot of people scroll down and then it's like, oh wait, what the heck? I'm not subscribed to the #1 source of Sonic news. What if I miss my Sonic news? And that's no good. So yeah, I'm in go mode and there's lots to go. So I've got lots of love to give, and peace. Peace! Also, the story overview trailer just dropped as I was about to upload this. I've been working for days on this, so I guess I'm making that next. Oh, also, smash like!